So welcome everybody to our Lifestyle as Medicine lecture series, brought to you by Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Institute. I am Dr. Ted Barnett, the high-tech doctor with low-tech solutions. And it's such a joy to be able to welcome you. Tonight, I'd like to introduce Dr. Natasha Sodhi, who will be talking about mindfulness and self-compassion. As you can see, she's a diplomat of the American Board of Family Medicine and the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. Dr. Sodhi is board certified in family medicine and lifestyle medicine. She practices lifestyle medicine at Rochester Regional Health in Rochester, New York. She is actively involved in the wellness programs for patients and employees at Rochester Regional and is also a member of the Rochester Mindfulness Practice in Healthcare Network. And during her 30 years of clinical practice, she has deepened her commitment to a collaborative patient care, integrating the connection between physical and emotional well-being. She's deeply passionate about individualized care and offering patients the time and space to share their own personal story of strengths and challenges. She focuses on creating a personalized toolkit of self-care and self-compassion. In her current role as a lifestyle medicine physician, Dr. Sodhi uses evidence-based lifestyle medicine strategies to prevent, treat, and reverse chronic diseases with an emphasis on helping patients navigate stress and lead happier, healthier, and more meaningful lives. Dr. Sodhi has personal experience with the benefits of lifestyle medicine and enjoys cycling, hiking, yoga, community service, and cooking nutritious food for her family. So we're going to have a 45-minute lecture from Dr. Sodhi, as well as about 15 minutes of Q&A after that. So the Q&A will be organized with me and Dr. Susan Friedman. If you could just, Dr. Friedman, if you could just turn your camera on so we can say hello to Dr. Friedman. There she is. Hello, Dr. Friedman. And Dr. Sodhi, if you could turn your camera on, please. And thank you very much, Dr. Sodhi. And Dr. Friedman and I are going to disappear. We're going to turn our cameras off, and we're turning it over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barnett and Dr. Friedman. It's a real joy to be here tonight, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be with everyone this evening. You know, tonight we're going to talk about a variety of things. We are going to talk about the impact of stress and how we navigate stress. And we're also going to share a little bit about the 9 attitudes of mindfulness and the practice of mindfulness itself. And I'm also going to introduce some simple ways of how you can incorporate some simple daily practices of mindfulness into your life. And we're also going to touch upon how mindfulness is an opportunity to engage in self-compassion. And part of that self-compassion will be to join in on a short guided mindfulness meditation in which we will be using the breath as an anchor. So lots of wonderful things for us to do together. And again, I thank all of you for being here. I'm just going to make a couple of adjustments. All right. And so in addition just to being grateful for this opportunity, I'm grateful to all of the attendees this evening, as I carry great appreciation for the fact that it takes time and effort to find the opportunity to sit down and do something for yourself, to learn something new, to experience something new. And this is a picture that I took in Prince Edward Island at Charlottetown. And to me, it signifies that opportunity of space and how one can explore a space and experience what is already in that space. And so tonight, I invite all of you to create a space for all of us to be in together, and also to find a space that is your own, one in which that you are experiencing for yourself. And I did just want to share a little bit about the space that I share with my patients. I am passionate about lifestyle medicine. Lifestyle medicine is really grounded in using evidence-based strategies to prevent, treat, and even reverse many of the chronic diseases that so many of us are struggling with. And we really do go at the root cause of these lifestyle related diseases. We know that 70 to 80% of all chronic illnesses are related to lifestyle choices. And so it is very meaningful for me to be able to sit with a patient and talk about the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Specifically, we talk about healthy eating with a focus on whole food, plant-based nutrition, We talk about the value of moving one's body to enjoy the effects of our natural endorphins so that we can feel that emotional and physical well-being that can come from within us. We talk about restorative sleep and how that's important for so many things, including our metabolism, including our emotional regulation, and even for weight loss, which is something I help people with. And of course, avoiding risky substances always has a place in a discussion around lifestyle. Having positive relationships, I will ask patients, what gives you joy in your life? Because it's many of the studies that have been done on longevity have shown that people who are passionate and are joyful around an activity or a hobby even, that those are the ones who live the longest. But I will have to share that the pillar that I'm most passionate about is the pillar that's devoted to stress. After 30 years of practice, it has really struck me how stress it really can be at the core of creating a barrier to affect meaningful change in a person's life, or to expand a connection in a meaningful way with a person or with a job, for example. And so I'm a firm believer of addressing stress and, nurturing that inner resilience and focusing on both how that emotional and physical well-being are connected. And we're going to talk about navigating stress. We're going to talk about how mindfulness can be a part of that. And so if we look at stress, we know through so many studies that the impact is significant, and it can impact our mental health in the way of anxiety and depression. It can impact our physical health in the way of heart disease and digestive issues, our immune function, how we respond. People who are diagnosed with cancer, we know that there's a component of stress sometimes. And so a lot of work has been done on looking at how we can address stress in a meaningful way when we're looking at even physical issues. Certainly the pandemic has layered a significant piece onto a very significant mental health crisis. And so I think that integration of behavioral health strategies is really key for us to be able to appreciate the magnitude of stress and the layers of stress that need to be addressed. So I wanted to share probably one of my most favorite quotes from Viktor Frankl, who is an Austrian psychiatrist, Holocaust survivor, author of the very famous Man's Search for Meaning. And both in my personal and professional life, I often reflect upon the notion of space and the difference between reaction and response. And Viktor Frankl really beautifully captures the potential if we choose response over reaction. And he says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So there's so many places we can apply this perspective, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how our response to stress can actually nurture growth within us. Now, I apologize for the busy slide, and this will be the only one. However, I do think it does capture the difference in how our body responds to stress. And this is the physiological response. So there is that fight or flight response to a stress. And that's when our sympathetic system, kicks up. We appreciate our heart rate going up, our blood pressure going up. We might be sweating, we might be breathing faster. So there's this hyper aroused state that we find ourselves in. And with that comes other physiologic impacts and or effects, such as our cortisol, which is our stress hormone. That cortisol level can certainly go up, whether it be acutely or if we're experiencing chronic stress, it can be chronically elevated. And that's a real concern. And we talk a lot about that in lifestyle medicine, of how cortisol can impact, various metabolic conditions and also impact our weight. And so when we look at that reactive experience to stress through the sympathetic nervous system, in contrast, we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a more mindful response to stress. And part of that response is the piece around pause. And again, that is something that I have been reflecting and sharing with others, that when we are responding to an event, to a person, maybe a conflict with a child or a partner, that we can certainly react without pausing, or we can pause and respond. And that's a more mindful approach to the stress. And that's when we pause, we are more likely to have our parasympathetic system guide us, if you will. We will not experience that elevated heart rate or the high blood pressure, but rather will produce some hormones that are gentle and kind, and allow us to navigate that stress. And so, my thought here is that the more we nurture our ability to respond in a space of positive growth, the more that we are caring for ourselves, and that also nurtures our ability to care for others. And so there are many different ways of approaching stress, or approaching conflict, or approaching a difficult situation. Certainly we can use distraction, we can use deflection, but today we're going to actually talk about the notion of acceptance, which is one of the attitudes of mindfulness. And acceptance is very important in bringing that awareness to the moment you're in and accepting what is before you. And as Dr. Barnett mentioned, I'm a firm believer of creating your own personalized toolkit of self-care and self-compassion. And that comes out of self-awareness, being aware, what are those things, what strategies, what methods, what people, which people are the ones that help you navigate stress. And I would share with you, or invite you to consider mindfulness as a potential tool for your toolkit. I loved Dr. Liana Leonov's description of her toolkit, and she called it a thriving toolkit. So you can call it whatever you like, but it's really a reflection of it being something that is meaningful to you, something that you can carry with you, and pull out those tools that will help you move forward. And then as you move forward, as Robert Frost has said, the only way around is through. As you journey through and navigate, you take your toolkit along with you. And along the way, you are more likely to make meaningful connections. So let's talk about mindfulness. It is a bit of a buzzword. It's not a new word. And there's lots of literature out there, both in the lay literature and in academic. And I'd like to share and introduce you to Jon Kabat-Zinn, who really is, the founder of modern day mindfulness. He is also the founder of the Center for Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare, and Society at UMass Medical School, and also the author of some amazing books, including Full Catastrophe Living and Wherever You Go, There You Are. And he has really captured the essence of mindfulness in this definition. Mindfulness is the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So we are looking to cultivate an awareness by focusing our attention on the moment that we are in. We are doing it with purpose, so it's an active experience, and we're doing it without any kind of judgment. And so I would argue that mindfulness is a practice, and it's a practice of response versus reaction. And some of you may have heard of mindfulness-based stress reduction, which again was founded by Jon Kabat-Zinn. And interestingly, he is a microbiologist in his previous world, and from MIT, and he was working at the UMass Medical Center. And although research had already begun in the 60s and 1960s, it really wasn't until the late 1970s when Jon Kabat-Zinn started doing his work that there was this appreciation for the need to include meditation, and particularly mindfulness meditation, as a way to support psychological well-being. And that's exactly what John Kabat-Zinn did by creating what he called a stress reduction clinic. And now there's a center of mindfulness at UMass. And there, what he did is he introduced techniques of mindfulness meditation and introduced them to patients with chronic pain. And it was an astounding experience for them, and also for him, to see how he was able to help patients learn to build their capacity to respond to stress, pain, and chronic illness. And these were individuals who had really plateaued using traditional pain-reducing modalities. And so it really was an incredible opportunity to look at how it could be applied in other areas. And at that time, John Kabat-Zinn really brought in the notion of how the breath is our anchor, and how the breath connects us to living fully and in the present moment. And so he used the breath in as part of this mindfulness-based stress reduction program, which is an 8-week evidence-based program. It's secular, it's intensive, and it's really been offered all over the world now. And over 25,000 people have actually completed this program, if not more. And we actually offer it here as well in Rochester. And I also wanted to just share a little bit with you about a local individual who is, I'm just adjusting things, who Dr. Ron Epstein. He's a family physician and palliative care physician, well-known researcher and author. And in 1999, he wrote a groundbreaking article in the Journal of American Medical Association that was really instrumental in integrating mindfulness in medicine and medical education. He wrote that mindful practice is moment-to-moment purposeful attentiveness to one's own physical and mental processes during everyday work, with the goal of practicing with clarity and compassion. And while Dr. Epstein is speaking about the place and the importance of mindfulness in medicine, I would also suggest to you that practicing can be so many things. I consider myself a physician, but I also consider myself a mother, a partner, a daughter. And so as I practice those roles with clarity and compassion to the best of my ability, I'm also having to attend to my own physical and mental experiences so that I can do it in a meaningful way. And so I just wanted to share that with you. He has also written a book called Attending: Medicine, Mindfulness, and Humanity, which is a wonderful exploration of mindfulness in medicine. And so what are the benefits of mindfulness? Well, there's been a lot of research so far, and there still is more to come. Some of it's preliminary, some of it is steadfast. It really is astounding. And what you will see here on the slide is just a sampling of what we know to be the benefits of mindfulness. Certainly, we see many benefits in the way of cognitive function, so attention, concentration, memory, and certainly in terms of mental health. We know that mindfulness can lessen anxiety, depression, the whole stress experience, so we actually can build up our resilience towards stress, chronic pain, as I mentioned earlier. And then on a physical level, just a few examples are improving hypertension, helping people with migraines, boosting the immune function. And there actually was a study on psoriasis where people who did mindfulness meditation, they recovered quicker and healed better from their psoriasis. What I have found most fascinating is the role of mindfulness in areas that I would never thought of. For example, addiction recovery, and helping people be successful and prolonging their recovery process. And also in the area of longevity. So we know that research has shown that there has been an impact of mindfulness meditation on certain enzymes that are important to the long-term health of cells. And so we are, continue to explore how maybe people who engage in mindfulness may actually live longer. And I think, on top of all of that, the functional neuroimaging studies, so MRIs, have actually shown changes in brain function and structure. And we know that there's a part of the brain called the amygdala that is responsible for that fight or flight response that we spoke about earlier. And studies have shown reduced activation in that area, and in fact, decreased volume in that area. While other parts of the brain, such as the hippocampus, which is responsible for learning and memory, and which actually can be negatively impacted because of a stress experience, the hippocampus can actually be supported and nurtured and can actually increase in gray matter density with mindfulness. So lots more to come in this area of research, but really some very exciting benefits. So what are the 9 attitudes of mindfulness? So Jon Kabat-Zinn, shared the essence of mindfulness, being in the present moment and bringing your attention to the present moment and without judgment. But what are some of the attitudes that are inherent to cultivating that awareness? And so these are the attitudes. They originally were 7, and now we are at 9. And these are the attitudes that can help us nurture emotions of well-being if we incorporate them into our daily life informally with some mindfulness practice. And we're going to delve into them a little bit more, but we have the beginner's mind, non-judging, acceptance, letting go, carrying trust, holding patience, not striving for a particular outcome. And then recently he added gratitude and generosity. And so I would suggest that, if we are able to use some of these attitudes during our informal practices of mindfulness, that the effect of that is that we are able to nurture certain emotions of well-being, such as love, happiness, curiosity, kindness, compassion, contentment. And those are the emotions of well-being that will help us not just emotionally, but also physically. And for those of you who may like to hear Jon Kabat-Zinn speak about these 9 attitudes, you can go on YouTube, actually. I refer my patients often to, you just search up on YouTube, 9 attitudes of mindfulness, Jon Kabat-Zinn, and he really does a lovely 26-minute sharing of the 9 attitudes. So let's talk a little bit more about what those attitudes are. All of them except for generosity are on this screen. And again, it's a little bit busy, I apologize. But again, with patience, we are looking for you to hold on to a sense of patience, allowing things to unfold in the way they're meant to be, unhurried, in their own time. And with that, using a beginner's mind where you are looking at each moment as a fresh moment, as a new moment, as a moment that you've never experienced before, even if you have been through that experience before, but looking at that current experience as a new one and using it with and experiencing it with a sense of curiosity. Like a child, I find children to be one of the best teachers of all, because they really do bring an amazement and awe to the moment that they're in. And again, back to acceptance. Acceptance is an active process where you are recognizing the space that you're in, that the things that are happening the way they are, and that you're accepting of it and not striving, which is another attitude, to force it into a certain outcome, that you're not seeking it to be, you don't have expectations for it to come out in a certain way, that you accept the process by which that moment is unfolding, You're accepting the process by which that conversation is unfolding. You are not looking for the outcome of that conversation to be in a certain way. You are accepting of that experience, that connection to unfold. And letting go is a big piece of it. When we do our guided meditation shortly, it's a common and normal experience to have thoughts and emotions and sensations to come. And I would offer you permission to let them go. And as long as we are able to allow things to be as they are, not striving for them to be in a certain way, then we're not clinging on to them, we're not grasping onto them. And we also are not avoiding them. We are accepting them where they are, and we also are letting them go. And this requires a lot of trust, which is hard, but it's a way to cultivate intimacy with yourself, so that you are not in, you are trusting yourself, trusting the natural wisdom of your body. So if your body is experiencing certain sensations, or your mind is experiencing certain emotions, you are trusting your body that for its authentic experience that is happening. And similarly, you are offering that trust to that person in front of you. So if you're having a difficult conversation, or if you're having a moment of conflict, if you trust yourself to accept the experiences you're having, but you're also trusting the person in front of you to be able to share how they are feeling, then that connection is actually going to be a lot more meaningful, and the outcome will probably be more authentic and positive. Non-judgment. So again, it's very important to not judge ourselves, and also not judge others, and to simply be a witness to what is happening. And with all of this, we are looking to show gratitude and generosity. We know that if you are receiving gratitude, or if you are giving gratitude, that you will experience the benefits of it emotionally and physically. And the same goes for kindness. And I'm a strong believer of small acts of kindness, whether it be kindness to ourselves or kindness towards others, to give joy, to show that you care. That's what creates that meaningful connection. And so when we look at, this is the Japanese Zen Buddhism word, Shoshin, which means beginner's mind. And it really speaks to that idea of letting go of any preconceptions and having this attitude of openness. You all have come today for a reason, and hopefully it is with a sense of openness, of learning something more, something new, or just hearing some new ideas. And that requires a beginner's mind. And that really is kind of at the beginning, if you will, of engaging in the practice of mindfulness. And so there are many experiences within the practice of mindfulness. Certainly you can be mindful of your body, and the breath is really at the core of the mindful experience, being aware of that sensation of the breath going in and out, and that nurturing, constant presence of the breath. Being aware of any contact your body might be having. It could be with the clothes you're wearing. It could be the feet on the ground as you walk or as you sit. It could be as you move your body to do different things, whether it be simple household tasks, whether it be something at work, whether it be to touch a parent's hand and letting them know just through touch that you are there. And that is being mindful of your body, but it's also showing a sharing of space and mindfulness with that person in front of you. You can be mindful of sensations, both unpleasant and pleasant. Something tastes good, something doesn't taste so good, but bringing your attention to those sensations, again, hones your ability to attend to the moment. We have so many feelings, negative and positive, but there are feelings, and we need to recognize them and acknowledge them. We have different attitudes and belief systems. So again, as we bring them into any moment, any experience, any connection, we need to acknowledge that this is how we think, this is what we believe in, and that's being mindful of our thoughts. And then where is our mind? How alert is it? How distracted is it? How much are we holding on to a grudge? How much are we, hoping we can change someone? Or can we actually let go and just allow things to be? So what I would like to do for you today is show you a few simple informal practices that you can do at home. And the lovely thing about mindfulness is that it is very much an informal practice. There's certainly, you certainly can practice it formally and sit and sit in silence and do mindful meditation, but you can also do it for very brief moments or for very long moments. It is always with you, just like your breath is. So the stop practice is simply that. S stands for stop. So this could be in a moment of stress, in a moment of heightened anxiety. It could be even in a moment of joy where you just want to appreciate that joy. So you stop for a moment. S is for stop. You take a breath. Maybe you take a second breath. Maybe you take a third. But this is your opportunity to breathe and to breathe into your breath. And then you observe what is happening with your body. What is happening with your mind? What are the sensations? What are the feelings? What are the thoughts? Perhaps you're moving from one meeting to another, and the meeting went well, but some parts didn't go so well. And those thoughts are with you. So you acknowledge those good and bad parts of the meeting, but maybe you take a break, you stop in between the meeting and you let go of that, of those ideas, having acknowledged them, and you move to your next meeting, and then you're present, fully present for the next one. And that's what you do, you proceed. Mindful breathing, again, it's about finding a comfortable posture for yourself where you are alert, perhaps closing your eyes if you feel comfortable, and bringing an awareness to your bodily sensations, touch, contact, pressure, your feet on the floor, and spending a few minutes just scanning your body, perhaps from head to toe, experiencing whether it be discomfort or maybe you feel a good feeling from exercising or from physical therapy, but you acknowledge all the different things that you are feeling and focusing on your in breath followed by your out breath. And knowing that your mind will wander, and that is okay, because that is part of the practice, that your mind may wander due to thoughts, your mind may wander due to feelings, your mind may wander because of a sensation, an itch, and that is part of the mindfulness practice. When people say, I just don't think I can do this because I'm so distracted, or my mind is going around in a number of different circles, it's twirling around from this task to that task. And I say, but actually that is part of mindfulness, is that you acknowledge what is happening to you, and then you gently escort those thoughts away. And maybe it only happens for a few seconds, but then you bring your attention back to the breath. There is mindful walking. And so it could be in your office, it could be in your home, it could be in your backyard, it could be with just yourself in your own space. It could be with a friend, a parent, a child. And you find a space where you can walk in a straight line and still be able to turn around and walk back. And first you start off by walking at your normal pace. And I know some of us can walk very fast. And then you ask yourself to walk a little bit slower, really slow. And then you bring your attention, your awareness to that moment. And you think about, how does your foot feel when it touches the floor with each step? What's happening with your body's weight as you walk from side to side? What does it feel like to even turn? This can be hard, but it's a wonderful experience of physical movement and awareness. And you're trying to focus your attention fully into each step. You do this for 5 to 10 minutes, and you notice what is happening, to your body, to your feet, to your legs. And then there's mindful eating. We are in a rushed society. We tend to sometimes eat while we're on our device. We sometimes are finishing one bite and then getting ready for the next. And studies have shown that mindful eating can actually be hugely impactful on your emotional wellness and also on your weight, actually. And so there are many, many benefits of mindful eating, also impact on diabetes and other chronic health issues. So 20 minutes of mindful eating is just that, where you are, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, and he's one of John Kabat-Zinn's teachers, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk. And he said, mindful eating means simply eating while being aware of every bite. And so what you're doing is you're taking the time to really look at the food, see what it looks like. What are the textures of the food? What are the colors of the food? What are the shapes of the food? So you're truly slowing that experience down for yourself. And then taking the moment to smell the food. We often take it right from the plate into our mouth, but what does the food smell like? And when it finally is in your mouth, trying to savor all the different layers of flavors in that food, and chewing it slowly and carefully and appreciating each of those flavors. And even if you want to quickly chew it and swallow it, maybe holding back, maybe pausing, bringing that pause back into your experience and allowing it to slowly go down and to nurture your body and experiencing what that feels like. And then moving on to the next mouthful. So we've talked a little bit about some practices that you can do at home. Mindful breathing, mindful walking, mindful eating, the stop practice to allow you to reset. And what I would ask you to do is when you do any of these practices is to again notice how it feels. Write down the experiences perhaps, and maybe go back to those experiences when you do that practice again and see how that experience evolves for you over time. And really reflecting on what was interesting, what was unexpected, what was pleasant, what was difficult, and acknowledging all of those experiences. So I just want to finish up with a couple of slides before we do our guided meditation. And so I just would like to share what Dr. Kristen Neff says about self-compassion. And she says that self-compassion is when we suffer, caring for ourselves as we would care for someone we truly love. And this involves noticing when we are in a place of suffering ourselves, whether it be feelings of inadequacy, of failure, confusion, despair. And that's the mindfulness piece of acknowledgement and awareness. And then responding to our suffering with kindness and understanding. Kristen Neff has done a tremendous amount of work in this area and has written many, many books as well. And she speaks about the three elements of self-compassion. Self-kindness, treating yourself with care and understanding, not judging yourself, not being self-critical, offering yourself comfort, kindness, soothing yourself when you are in need. And recognizing that your experience is not just yours, that it's not about me or I, that all those feelings of despair, inadequacy, failure, disappointment are part of the common humanity, are part of this common human experience, and that is shared by all of us. And then to just be with any of those negative feelings that we're having without suppressing them or without letting them explode to the point of being consumed with negative reactivity or internalizing them in that way. And so, as the sun has set and we are now moving into our rest period after experiencing this day that has unfolded and getting ready for the next day, I would share with you this beautiful quote by David White, who is an internationally renowned author and poet from a wonderful book called Consolations. And he speaks about rest. And when I read this, it reminds me of the importance of self-care, self-compassion, pausing, and finding that space for positive growth. Rest is the conversation between what we love to do and how we love to be. Rest is the essence of giving and receiving, an act of remembering imaginatively and intellectually, but also psychologically and physically. And so I bring our space back, and my offering today to you all is a guided meditation with the breath as an anchor. We will incorporate some self-compassion and maybe some of the attitudes of mindfulness. I'm keeping track of time as well. What I would like for all of you to do, if you are comfortable, is to find yourself in a comfortable place, position, posture. It can be sitting, it can be lying. And again, if you are comfortable, to gently close your eyes. And if not, certainly keep your eyes lowered in a lowered gaze, maybe a few feet in front of you. And I would ask for you to first find your breath. Taking some deep breaths in, followed by some deep breaths out. And lengthening each of those in breaths and out breaths to a place, a rhythm that is comfortable for you. Remember, this is your space. This is your time to nurture yourself. And without any expectations of how to breathe, without striving and without judgment, just breathe. Breathe into your breath and appreciate how that breath enters your body through your nose, through the back of your throat, into your lungs, expanding your abdomen. And then what is natural is what follows: the softening of the belly and the air that has been warmed by your body, and perhaps feeling different than how it first entered. Moving back out through your nose, through your mouth, and trusting that the breath is there. Trusting that your breath will always support you, just like the ground is always there to support you, the earth beneath you. And if a thought comes to mind, allow it to be present. Acknowledge it, recognize it, and then gently escort it away, or imagine it to be like a cloud passing over the horizon. And then bring your attention back to your breath. Bring some curiosity to this experience. What are you feeling? Where is your breath going? Is there a place in your body that we can breathe into to show our gratitude or to show comfort? Perhaps our hands that allow us to do things every day. Perhaps our neck or back could use some breath and some comfort. Be generous to yourself. Be generous with your breath. Be generous with this time that you have given yourself. For when we are kind to ourselves, that kindness will continue to grow and evolve and deepen. And that is the kindness that you can then share with others. Continue to breathe. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Just breathe. And as we slowly bring this practice to a close, you will hear a sound signaling when to open your eyes. And as we ready ourselves to come back to our shared space, my offering to you is a loving kindness meditation. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you be free. May you be strong. May you be kind to yourself. May you live with ease and happiness. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sodhi. That was wonderful. I'm not sure we got to hear that sound at the end, though. Was there a sound at the end?
There was. You did not hear the bell?
I didn't hear it. Hold it up. Hold it by your microphone.
Oh.
Close. Yeah, you know what? I think Zoom is thinking it's a noise.
Oh, I'm
That's all right.
sorry.
That's right. We got the idea. But thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Well, I have a question just to start out, which is, if you are brand new to this, what are your suggestions in terms of first steps? Like how do you get started?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, I think it depends on, can you hear me? Are you
Yes.
okay? Yes, okay. I think it depends on, what space you have in your life to do something new. Certainly for some of my patients, I've been recommending some mindfulness apps simply as an introduction. For example, Insight Timer is a free app which has some wonderful guided meditations from people like Tara Brach, and Dr. Neff. And so I'm very pleased with the offerings, and they can be short. Guided meditations are longer, and when you sign up, you kind of indicate what your needs are, whether it be you want to address sleep or anxiety or depression. But I think that's the first step, is to be able to experience some guided meditations, so that you kind of are guided through the process of the breath and whatnot. And then there's some other wonderful websites such as On Being and 10% Happier that also offers some great offerings. And then of course there's some wonderful books. Thich Nhat Hanh, has some great books, and as does Jon Kabat-Zinn. So some people want to start with reading as well. So there's different ways of approaching it, and you can go online and there's so much information. Not all of it is good information like the internet is. But I think that's probably where I would start. Certainly, if you can certainly ask your physician. So depending on what network you're with, at Rochester Regional Health and also at URMC, there are different offerings. I think I saw something about the mindfulness-based stress reduction course. And so there are different offerings of mindfulness that are more formal. And so they occur over a period of several weeks. So those are just some initial thoughts. And then just starting to kind of educate yourself about like I mentioned, the YouTube that Jon Kabat-Zinn does. It's really quite beautiful. And it does kind of expand on all the different 9 attitudes. I have to tell you, when I first started doing it, I started by folding towels mindfully. And it was just a simple household task, bringing my attention to what I was doing and not entertaining other thoughts or ideas at the time.
Yeah, I think that's a point that's really well taken, that you can bring mindfulness into just about any task that you do. And I love the suggestions of, things like walking and just really paying attention to the food that you're eating,
Right.
just sort of the simple joys and multi-sensory, that kind of thing.
Dr. Sodhi, is there an 8-week program for to learn about Jon Kabat-Zinn in Rochester or elsewhere?
Yes, so we are still developing the one over at Rochester Regional Health, but the URMC does have programs based on the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction. There is a mindful practice and medicine division there, so you can certainly search it on that. But there's also some wonderful online courses that you can do through Kripalu, through Sounds True. So there's a lot of different things that you can find online. So I know people who have done it online as well.
Excellent. Somebody asked, go ahead, Susan.
Sorry, there's a question about how to use mindfulness meditation to get a good night's sleep. I think many of us suffer from that.
Yeah, so it's a common problem. I think it's multifactorial why we have trouble falling asleep. I think, first of all, part of it has to do with our device use and our exposure to blue light, and not cutting ourselves off in time in a way that our body wants it, because some people can be on their phone and go right to bed, but many cannot. And so that, I think, my first lifestyle medicine plug there would be to unplug and to not bring devices into the bed, and to leave them somewhere else, and to actually have a wind down period that doesn't involve any kind of electronics or stimulation. And so the sleep center in the brain is actually nurtured. So there's that initial direct impact of going through the mindfulness practice, whether it be doing a task or actually going through the meditation. But then what I would say is that those areas of the brain that we need for sleep and memory are kind of strengthened by the practice. And so people who kind of are able to move into a place of acceptance and into a place of awareness actually then fall asleep better. But there are guided meditations as well for sleep, for example.
That's great.
So I know we're going to run out of time here. We have a lot of questions.
Oh,
Somebody in the audience has asked me particularly to talk about ornithotherapy. So Stephen Melcher, thank you for that. I will just mention it really quickly. There's a movement now, you can look it up, It's a way of getting out into the natural world, which of course we endorse. And it starts with bird watching, but which is the ornithotherapy part of it. But really just to experience and to try to be mindful and be present for the natural world.
There's a question about any particular style of breathing that you think, are there any that are better than others, or any things that we should be focusing on?
So I know there's different types of breathing styles out there, counting a few, certain seconds in and then certain seconds out, prolonging the exhale compared to the inhale. I have not come across any one breathing technique to be better than the other. I think after so many years of working with patients, back to being individualized, I think it's about finding your own rhythm and finding what's really comfortable for you. I do think slowing the breath down is important, but I don't think that it has to be at a certain ratio to be fully effective. Yeah.
Right.
Regarding Parkinson's disease, is there any evidence that being mindful or any kind of meditation can help with that, especially regarding balance?
Yeah, that's a great question because balance is so important. I don't know the answer to that question. Now I'm going to want to find out. But I think with all the cognitive effects that we're seeing with mindfulness, it will be interesting to see because that's such a huge area. But I offhand, I don't know about it. Yeah. I see somebody mentioned the Calm app and the Plum Village app. Yes, those are also very, very good. Calm, Headspace, Plum Village, that's right, Thich Nhat Hanh's community. So those are all really good apps as well. By someone is mentioning about taking a longer out breath and activating the parasympathetic system. So I think if you feel that it is meaningful and impactful for you, then that makes sense.
Sure. Well, we are out of time, so that's okay. So, Dr. Sodhi, if you have any, unless it was really important, Susan, was it?
No, that's fine. There's lots of good questions.
There's lots of great questions.
We could go on for a long time.
So, Dr. Sodhi, do you have any final messages for our audience before we respectfully let them go?
Yeah, I think that, my simple offering to all of you would be to give yourself that opportunity to pause and think about maybe if there's even one thing that spoke to you during this presentation, something that you can perhaps use to nurture yourself. And I think that introducing pausing into your life and that allowing yourself to be more responsive than reactive will allow for you to have a very meaningful experience with yourself and with others.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you. So, yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Sodhi. So next month, October 18th, we'll be talking about another lifestyle medicine pillar, sleep. So that's at 7:30 on October 18th again. So we're covering all the lifestyle medicine pillars eventually, and the recording of this presentation will be available on our YouTube channel in a few days. So please check our website also for any other upcoming events, especially for the general public and for physicians. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Sodhi.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Friedman, thank you for helping field questions.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing everybody in the near future.
All right. Have a beautiful evening, everyone.
Thank you.